Through the first 25 games of this season, the Grizzlies had the worst offense in the NBA, and it wasn't even close. Scoring just under 107 points every 100 possessions, they found themselves about 9 points below the league's average. We're talking about historically bad production. Just for some perspective on how inefficient that is, they would have ranked as the number 16 offense in 2008, when teams were still shooting 18 threes a game, and the finals was producing scores like this. The offense being a complete disaster stems from the fact that they just simply can't put any sort of pressure on the paint. Here's a look at every team in the NBA's volume and efficiency at the rim. Memphis is the only team that lands in the bottom 6 in both categories. And I know it's just one game, but here's what they were able to put up last night against the Pelicans. With a larger sample size, I'd expect them to be a lot closer to that second mark, and that's because Morant is one of the best slashers we've ever seen. Most of his offense comes in the high pick and roll. If he's given any sort of space to attack, he's turning that corner with speed. And even though Zeller does a good job of closing the lane, there just isn't an answer for whatever you want to call this finish. Ja's most lethal weapon as an attacker is his unrivaled change of direction. As he sets up the action, there's no way of knowing whether he's going to use the screen going right or reject it and attack left. So he throws a couple crossovers to keep his defender guessing, and when Zion picks him up at the elbow, changes course again with a misdirection dribble, knifing his way to the cup for 2. Here's another one just like that. He uses a screen going right before throwing a misdirection to his left, and that makes Valanciunas look like a traffic cone, forcing the Pelicans to foul. Now feels like a good time to mention that in direct correlation to the lackluster inside scoring numbers, the Grizzlies were 29th in free throw attempts. Ja's gotten to the line almost 8 times a game over his last 2 seasons, so that's another huge boost. And all of that rim pressure also leads to more inside scoring for his teammates. Here you're going to see him again attack the big so that he can get deep in the paint, and with 2 on him in the restricted area, McCollum on the weak side not tagging, that means Tillman's open. But there's no real angle to drop it off, so he creates one out of thin air by going behind his back, although Tillman fails to convert. You'll see these same types of plays in transition. The threat of Ja's finishing pulls the defense into a total collapse, and he looks to Jackson to draw attention away from the restricted area before lobbing it up top for Zaire Williams. You've probably noticed by now that a lot of his offense comes with speed, using his burst and length to attack in space, but there's also a real methodical element to his game when it's needed. Here the Pelicans switch the ball screen so he doesn't have an angle to quickly attack, and instead probes across the lane with a live dribble as he hunts for an opportunity to strike. As soon as he turns the corner, Valanciunas is forced to pick up, leaving Biyombo all alone for an easy lob. He misses, but Morant fights for one of his 3 offensive rebounds and puts it back up for 2 himself. In other words, it's in the defense's best interest to keep Ja as far away from the paint as possible, meaning that when he comes off of screens, more times than not, it either requires a switch or some sort of aggressive coverage, and that's when you'll see him pick apart the defense with his passing. Alvarado has no chance of stopping Jackson, so Zeller has to rotate early from the weak side corner, leaving open a cross-court dot to Santi Aldama for a high-quality 3. With all of that said though, Morant actually wasn't playing all that well to start. I'm sure there's some rust that comes with missing 25 games, and he shot just 3 of 8 in the first half as the offense struggled mightily. At one point they found themselves down by as many as 24, but they did close out relatively well to cut it to 19 before the break. To open half number 2, it was clear right away that a point of emphasis for them was to play with as much pace as possible. And what makes Ja so deadly in the open floor is that he's just as effective setting up these opportunities as he is receiving them. After a turnover, all 5 Grizzlies take off, with Ja streaking down the middle. It's not until he reaches the 3-point line that he touches the ball, surrounded by nothing but black jerseys. Fortunately, he's one of the most vertically gifted athletes on the planet and finds an angle to lay it in. It's not just after turnovers or long rebounds that they were playing with pace either. The entire defense is back and in set position here, yet Ja has no trouble at all building up a head of steam, going into Alvarado's body to create some separation, and floating it off glass for two. In the half court, it felt like he was able to touch the paint whenever he wanted. This one starts in isolation against Zion, who he has no trouble beating off the dribble, and when Valanciunas meets him at the rim, he re-angles his body to drop it off to Biyombo, setting up an easy hook. Just like in the first half, it pretty much all started with the high pick and roll though. Here he hesitates as if looking to use the screen going right before rejecting it and exploding left. Because of that speed, he's able to beat his defender to the spot, meaning that when they make contact, it's a defensive foul, which he shoots through for a chance at three the old-fashioned way. Next time down, they're gonna run it again, but this time he uses the screen and turns the corner, forcing Valanciunas to pick up on the ball. Ja leaves his feet and stares down Biyombo as if looking to lob it, which pulls Ingram away from the corner, opening up a kick out to Vince Williams, who has time to set his feet for a warm-up triple. In 2 possessions, you've got a paint score and an open corner three, so why not run it again? Just like last time, he turns the corner and attacks the big, pulling a third defender into the action. A pass to David Roddy is the easy decision to make, but he's a poor outside shooter. So Ja instead takes one more dribble towards the middle, setting up a counter spin back to his left, then takes off vertically to finish over the top for another and one. Clearly, the Pelicans were tired of having to deal with his driving, so next time he calls for a screen, Valanciunas comes way up to the three-point line before he's even taken a dribble. That of course pulls the weak side defender way over to tag a slip, leaving open a left-handed skip to Williams in the corner. That puts the defense into a scramble, and although Morant's not credited with any stat, it all started with him drawing 2 to the ball. The problem with playing him in these more aggressive coverages is that if he does burst around a screen, most bigs aren't quick enough to either close the space or beat him to the spot. So you'll have a lot of these plays where he picks up a quick foul. And that means they have to come up early, fully committing to the ball, to which you'll see Ja play that more patient style, just keeping his dribble live as he clears out the paint, setting up a beautiful dime to Tillman for an easy lay. He played 10 minutes in the third, scoring 13 points and picking up 4 assists as he just dissected the Pelicans' defense. There was still some work to be done though. Trailing by 10, he wouldn't be on the bench long, checking back in with about 8 minutes to go. They of course started with some ball screen action. The first one's just a ghost to clear out some space, and the second one lands hard, drawing the attention of all 5 defenders to that paint. Tillman's wide open just 1 pass away, and he's someone who can knock down that shot. Next time, they again start with 2 screens, but Ja's gonna patiently wait for an opportunity to set up his man, and creates an angle to get downhill that forces a switch. From there, it's almost like he starts a new attack, using that quick change of direction to get closer to the basket and floating it up over the top of the defense, with some nice touch off the rim. The really cool thing about the current state of this offense though is that because of Desmond Bane's ascension, you can get Ja off the ball more. And while he's certainly not much of a threat to catch and shoot, what he is a threat to do is slash off the catch, working his way to the front of the rim and softly laying it in with the left. Even with Ja and the rest of the squad firing on all cylinders, it was still tough to cut into the lead because the Pelicans kept scoring on the other end. With 4 minutes to go, they were still down 6. Remember, I talked about Bane's improvements. Here you're going to see him collapse the defense on a drive and kick it out to Jaren Jackson, who hits a huge jumper to cut the lead to 3. But from there, it was all Ja Morant. It started with him pushing the pace in transition. Even with 3 defenders back, that's not going to stop him from attacking the paint, using a few lengthy strides to draw a foul. Then on the defensive end, Ingram draws 2 to the ball with Ja on the weak side. He plays in between the 2 as he waits for Ingram to make a decision, then pounces on the pass to deflect it, and saves it from going out of bounds to force a turnover. Back on offense, he's going to start this one with a corner isolation, and Herb Jones does a great job of closing off the rim, but sometimes the offense is just better, and all of a sudden Memphis has the lead. Next time down, they're going to go back to that high pick and roll, and it looks like Tillman's setting the screen left, so Valanciunas jumps out to that side, meaning that when it's instead flipped right, there's a ridiculous amount of open space to attack. Zion recognizes this and aggressively helps from the weak side, but like I said, sometimes the offense is too good. All tied at 113, 40 seconds to go, Ja's gonna threaten a drive before trying a step back three, and it just rims out, leaving the Pelicans with a chance to take the lead back. On the other side, CJ McCollum gets left on an island for about as good of a shot as you can ask for, but doesn't come anywhere near hitting it, leaving the Grizzlies with 10 seconds to win. Ball in Ja's hands, walking down one of the best defenders in the NBA, I'm pretty sure we all know what happens next.
With a chance to win it in his return. Here goes Morant. He spins. Morant scores! And the timer expires. Count the basket. And Ja Morant wins it for the Grizzlies.
After missing 25 games, Ja Morant returns with 34 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists on 58% true shooting. The Grizzlies snap a 5-game losing streak as they move to just 7-19, 13th in the West. They've got a ton of ground to make up, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not they can string together a really good stretch with Ja back in the lineup. One thing is for sure though, his return completely transforms their offense. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought of this game. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.